What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ultra OK Duelist. Today we're going to have a special Wednesday edition where we're going to interview Brandon over here. I'm your host, James. This is my co-host for today, Lance. And yeah, we're interviewing Brandon. This will be your first interview. Quick things before we start. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And click the notification bells for when new videos are uploaded. And also don't forget that we have these pot of grease. You can't really see them right now, but we still have these 2 pot of grease. We're still trying to get to 300 subscribers. 150 will be the first drawing for it. So go ahead and give us a subscribe down there so you can be a part of that. All right, so we're going to get into this right now. Brandon, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? How y'all doing?
Lance, welcome as the interim co-host for today.
Hey, what's going on?
So anyway, you've seen some of our videos obviously already. So we always start with the first question is usually, how'd you get into Yu-Gi-Oh?
Man, the anime, man, coming home from school, like, that's the first thing you had to get on, seeing the Duelist Kingdom, like, man, I had to get into that. And then, I don't know if y'all remember when Peter Piper's was giving away, like, not giving away, but for the tickets, they were giving starter deck boxes away. And that's when I got my first Yu-Gi-Oh cards, starter deck with the Yu-Gi.
So Peter Piper was doing like a promotion?
Yeah, they were.
And they were giving away structure decks?
Yes, they were.
Were they the Yugi and Kaiba structure deck?
It was the Yugi and Kaiba. Actually, it was just Yugi at that point.
Oh, okay. So did you ever hear about this?
We were just talking about that, and I'm like, you know what? I do remember that. They would have it as a prize.
I also I didn't ever really go to Peter Piper Pizza, except for like maybe a birthday or two, but it was never something where I went to it like just out of nowhere. So I never heard about that actually, so that's kind of cool. So which deck did you end up getting?
The Yugi starter deck.
Okay.
Had to go with, old school Yugi. But we were just playing backyard dueling, me and my friend. He had a couple of cards, I had a couple of cards, and no deck, man, no sleeves, just laying on the floor and playing. Whoever gets the biggest monster out wins. That's it.
And then how'd the game evolve from there?
Man, it stopped. I stopped for a while, like I didn't play. I just watched it for a little bit. I didn't even get into the other seasons, to be honest. I didn't even watch any of the other anime. And it was not until I met Lance that I started seeing him play where we played basketball at. He was playing with a guy who worked there at the gym, and they would be playing. I'm like, man, what are y'all doing? They're like, we're dueling. We're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! You want to try to get into it? I was like, nah, it's not for me. But then they started coming around my house. I'm like, you know what? Let me build a deck. Let me try playing into it again. See what goes on. And that's when I just took off with it.
Yeah, the place that we used to play basketball at, the staff members, 2 of them, Jonathan. You know Jonathan?
Me?
Yeah.
No, maybe, probably.
Yes. I think you
I might have
know
met
him. Yeah,
if
you know
not,
him.
If he's coming around to Heroes, yeah, then I know.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the staff members at the shop right now?
No.
Oh,
he
okay,
was
never
the
mind.
staff
Wrong
member
time.
at the community center where we played basketball at.
Oh, okay.
Him and another guy, they played already competitive, and so another guy had joined. He was starting to learn, and he was just like, well, Blue Eyes too. He was picking up all the Blue Eyes stuff, and because there's like a game room, where there's a table, so.
Oh, like a rec center?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we would just play cards there, go play some basketball and stuff like that. And then he lived down the street from there. So
this was like a while ago?
It was a while ago.
I think like recently a while ago, or like way back in the day, kind of a while ago?
2012. Because I remember they were playing Totally Awesome. That was like the best card.
I think that it just came out probably around that time frame.
Yeah.
If it was around that time, like 2013 or something, like Totally Awesome was like a brand new.
Yeah, I played those guys, Chaos Max Dragon, Blue Eyes, and then the Totally Awesome. They were just kicking my butt all over the place.
So your first introduction into it was just a side game at the rec center there.
Yeah.
And what did you think about the game then?
I thought it was actually pretty awesome. Like, who doesn't like to read and who doesn't like to do math? And then no, it was
nobody in this game likes to read or do math.
Exactly,
especially the reading part. But yeah,
no, it was the artwork that actually got me very interested because I like looking at the detail on the card. How they print it out, how they create it, like the mindset of it. Like, man, it's just awesome. So I was like, man, I've been loving dinosaurs no matter what. My whole life I love dinosaurs. And then when I found out they made a dinosaur deck, I had to get my hands on it.
And that was when you started getting back into it recently?
Yes.
Okay, so at that time, your perception of the game was all solely based on the TV show.
Solely
and
based.
how slow pace it was in the TV show, where like a duel lasts forever and stuff like that. But it's like all like 1-to-1, like kind of.
Yes.
I set a card, I pass my turn.
That's like where I was at until they started saying, "Oh, we have XYZ monsters now." I'm like, "Wait, what is this monster? What is that? I never even heard of that." But it took me a little while, and then it took Lance to explain to me what Link monsters were for a long time. I was like, "I don't understand this. What happened to the regular? Bring out a big monster, I attack yours, life points gone. What happened to that game?"
Yeah, that game is gone. So yeah, now you know the world of extenders and cards that just draw out and draw out a game as well as build a board and. Yeah, so that I'm sure is a lot different for you. I know a lot of old players that come back into the game that always have this gripe about how the game is now as to what they remember when they first started playing, because the game is completely different from that time frame. So, what do you what is it?
What do you play now?
Yeah, what are you playing now? Your metas now. What is your gameplay now?
Meta now is it's the Albaz branded deck. Like, I like it. Fusion, easy to fusion, and really that's the most competitive. I've been topping with it lately, so it's been doing very good for me. But before that, it was actually the dinosaurs. I went back-to-back tournaments. It was actually fun, but branded just took it to a whole nother level. Yeah. That's the most competitive I've ever had.
It is also you got to be a little bit smart to play the game. Yeah. I was telling my friend Alfredo, y'all know Alfredo. I was telling Alfredo the other day that I consider branded to be an ultimate cheat code deck.
Very much.
Because you can get away with some random stuff in that deck if you know what you're doing and how you're going to be able to manipulate the game into that position if your opponent doesn't know what's going on. So that, along with like something like Virtual Worlds, which we were talking about the other day, is something like what I consider like it has cheat codes, and you can get away with a lot of
as long as you know which spot to hit it at. Yeah, exactly. Then you'll get away with it.
Or just like utilizing effects with like a small thing that no one really knows, like the Guardian Chimera needs to be summoned by a spell card.
Yes.
And doing it off of Cartesia and resolving a pop and draws and getting away with that. So that's which separates like a good, educated player to just an everyday average player.
And I just learned something yesterday that you can contact fuse with Albaz face down. Yeah. If he has dragons, you can still contact fuse if it's face down. I'm like, wow, that blew my mind, and now I added that to my little.
So yeah, you have all these little things that you now are adding to your toolbox, knowledge and wise and stuff like that. So in comparison to branded, what do you consider to be your a fun deck?
I actually have two of them that I consider fun, and one of them's coming back. Y'all know Sky Striker, and the dinosaurs. Like I said, I can't let go of the dinosaurs. I have love for them. They were my first deck that I took to a tournament, my first tournament. So they're always going to be there. But Sky Strikers were like the next competitive level, and then just went into branded.
Who'd you get a lot of before you started doing tournaments, you had to have some level of knowledge as you were coming into the game again, because you started playing recently. If you're talking about dinos, I would assume that was in the last like maybe 2 or 3 years that you just started coming around casually.
Yeah, I would say around 2017, 2018. Yeah, that's when
I started. Where'd you get a lot of your knowledge from? As far as like how to combat the meta and like what is the meta, like those questions like what is everyone playing?
Really, me playing this guy, because this guy always wanted to play the next meta, always the next one, and I'm like, man, this guy's changed like 6 different decks in like 1 year. I'm just like, yo, it gives me knowledge on how to beat one part of it, and another part of it is just like, all right, sweet. Now I know how to play against it when I play against somebody in the tournament. So it's like, I needed that. And also shout out to Reginald Wilson. He plays a lot of how you say, rogue decks.
Yeah,
that are really good and they'll like just stun you out of nowhere. So
yeah.
that helps out completely. Like just to be prepared for both sides.
Yeah, just random stuff. You definitely have to pick up cards and read when you're playing a rogue deck. Because if you don't, well, you should pick up any card
and read it
that you don't know. If you see a card and you're like, what does that do? You should probably pick it up and spend some time reading it. Not a lot of time, but yeah. So rogue decks can get a lot of games, especially if you have no idea what the fuck they're doing. So in that, what do you find is your biggest, what would you call it? Like your biggest uphill battle when you're playing competitively now?
Biggest uphill battle is just some of these cards are totally unfair. Like, come on. Like, I know Kashtira is not considered tier 0, but it's still, you know, like, dang, as soon as you see it, you're like, oh my gosh, here we go. A battle with a Kashtira player. Yeah, I already know what you're going to try to do. Lock on my zones and banish some of my cards. It's like, all right, that's cool. Like, it's just, you have to be prepared for each different meta cards. It's like, oh my goodness gracious. All right, let's see what I could do, see what I could ban. As long as I keep you not playing Yu-Gi-Oh, then we're good. And yeah. I even stayed away from Gimmick Puppet. Like, that was a little bit toxic for me. I was like, all right, no more Gimmick Puppet. Let me just play straight branded, try to attack your life points and take you out like that. So
do you find like the branded gives you a lot more extension through a game then? I think a lot of people do find that as a positive
it's
thing.
Very it
just
can
recycling.
Yeah, recycling. You can keep you keep a hand. It's what's good. You have a reoccurrence with the cards. It's like, it's beautiful. I like it. Like, you can keep battling. There's not one point where I'm like, okay, first turn I'm done. I can't even play. I can actually keep going in each round and be like, okay, I could play.
I do see like a lot with branded players when they draw a shitty hand. You know, they still build a board of some sort that is going to get them somewhere, or they haven't seen the board that they can possibly build out of what they have in their hand because there's something there. You know, like, unless you have like all your dudes in your hand and you have to play fusion and you get ashed and you have to probably set a card and pass your turn.
That's what it is.
But that's very rare.
All the branded players know this. When you get the 5 monsters that you want to normal summon, it's just like, oh wow, I really can't do much with this. And there's been plenty of times where I had hands like that. So yeah, there are times you're gonna have a dead hand, but for the most part, But the dead hand, my point was the dead hand still has playability, and potential to become something, especially if your opponent has like no responses whatsoever. No response, no hand traps. Falling out Albaz is he's a walking cheat code. Like, I could just use your whole board against you, bring out my Mirror Jade, and just go off from there. So yeah, it can be bricky, but you still can play through it. There's no way you cannot. And if you can't, then you should probably move on to a different deck.
So your highest level of gameplay right now at this point has just been locals.
Yes, it has been locals. I would like to go to regionals, and do some big time tournaments like that.
Well, hopefully they are going to have some here. I don't know if they are. I know that we were talking about this in another video. They're moving. Heroes right now is moving. I heard that the guy that owns the shop doesn't want to continue doing regionals there, or he doesn't see that it has value monetarily wise, I guess. I don't know what the main reason is. I'm not saying this is all validated, but hopefully they do have a regionals, whether it be there or Geeked Out here in San Antonio, because we used to have a lot of regionals here in San Antonio, at least 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I wanted to see it. I mean, at least to enter it is one thing, but to at least see it is like, wow. Like, I know these little locals ain't nothing compared to regionals.
Yeah,
it's way bigger, more competitive.
You're gonna see a lot of random rogue decks in a regional. It'll be funny because you'll just be like you'll be like over prepared for all the main stuff that.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm just prepared for Kashtira or any Sprite deck. I was like I'm waiting for that.
When I played that Tri-Mid deck in a regional, and I'm like, we're like round 6 or 7, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to read all your cards. And he's like, go ahead, this is happening all day. He's like, people like never played this, and I'm just like, I have nothing to go against this, and like first loss of the day, because I had no idea what. And then also I remember first round, Ancient Gear Fusion, I'm like, playing Ancient Gears in a regional, like that's sick,
Yeah, I like the variety that you get in a regional. It definitely makes you have to think more, and like I said, pick up the cards and read. And even if you do, like Lance had to pick them up and read them, and even if he did, it still didn't change the fact that he had no idea how to even really respond to what was going on, because all they're doing is swapping field spells out, adding cards, specialing stuff, and putting more field spells on the board, and then creating this situation where you're like, well, what the heck? And it's just
you're just watching them play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, basically. But it's not a hard deck to play against. But the fact that he didn't know what he was doing against it probably gave him a pretty decent uphill battle against it. And you're going to experience that yourself too, if you don't already do in locals. Yeah. But for the most part, the same people show up to locals. The same decks are there. The variety is there, but there's not a lot of difference from one week to another, unless the format does a complete flip on itself, and then maybe one deck is a little less represented and another one is overrepresented, like how Sprite was dwindling in numbers and now it's starting to regain some popularity in gameplay. So other than that, at a regional though, like he played Trimids, I played against Time Lord.
Oh, wow.
Time Lords. I had lost to that. I was not prepared for Time Lords, and that's not the only regional that I played in, or even a local where someone random showed up and there was just some random deck there. I had no idea
decks will get you. You're just like, okay, you're playing that. All right.
So your ultimate goal then is to play in a regional.
At least enter a regional. Yeah, that would be pretty good.
Are you willing to go and travel somewhere to go and do it if you have to? Somewhere close by?
If I have to, yeah, but I also need some support, at least to go with people I know. Like, that's really good. You can talk about game plan, see what y'all can do. Give y'all the chances of winning, at least one of y'all winning. It's boosts y'all
I do like it, like events like that where like groups of people that are typically in the same team, they'll come out and they'll like talk about what they just played against and who was playing it, whatever. And I'm sure they're just feeding information so the other person knows exactly what to expect if they end up having to play against that person. Like, oh, I just lost to that dude over there and he's playing this. You have a likelihood of running against him if you just won your last round too.
Exactly.
So you might want to know that. So that's like kind of like good after action or post game talk that will help.
Helps. Like, if you're by yourself,
teammates and stuff,
you just got to be prepared by yourself if you're by yourself. But having people with you, like I said, that's good information to have.
So after your regional, you're going to do the regional. You have any other things that you want to do or to accomplish, like through the game of Yu-Gi-Oh?
I mean, really, I want to introduce more people to it. Like, there's a lot of people I know that were like, oh, I remember that game. How's it played now? I'm like, man, it's gotten way further than what you think it was back in the anime. So just bringing more people into Yu-Gi-Oh, like that's the best thing to do.
And do you currently, you said you were telling me about you having a team?
Yeah, I'm trying to make a team right now since everybody has their own little core group.
Everyone's got a little clique going. Yeah. Except for me. Anyone is invited on my team, okay? We are Team Ultra Okay. We ain't good, but we Ultra Okay. So, and that's all that matters. You don't have to have, okay. We can be a group of the largest team in the country. All you have to do is be on board with Ultra Okay. no need to top anywhere. No need to do anything. You just gotta play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!
You gotta represent
and feel like you want to be a part of something. You're welcome here anytime.
All right, sweet. Yeah, I just made this team up like probably last month. I was like, you know what? Everybody's got their own little thing. I want to make my own too. I call it Team Slow Play. It's gonna have Snorlax with it, with some Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and like, hey, everybody knows about that slow playing stuff. So it's like, hey, I might as well make a team called that.
And how do you find slow playing?
Define slow play?
How do you find it? Like, what do you think about slow playing?
I hate it. I hate it so much. Where the guy is just, you know what? Wait, what does that do?
Calculating in the air.
You read it 5 times, sir. You read the card 5 times. Why are you already know if I won and then our life points are at 8,000. That is the most annoying part, is when they're taking forever. You're just like, come on, dude, pass your turn so I can at least burn you or strike you for some damage points, man. Something that's the part that works. That it just irks me.
So it got me the other day too, and you were at this tournament. We went to Shenanigans, and I'm not blaming Shenanigans. It was a friend of mine. I'm not going to drop his name. He knows who he is. But Lance was there, and I have one card on the field. It's Cosmo Tin Can. I have 2 or 3 cards in my hand. One of them he knows is Destroyer. I can swap out only the Tin Can and the other 2 cards were Strawman and a Sword Trooper. I am under that spell card that lets me draw 2 cards during the standby phase and normal summon twice. Mm-hmm. So, but at the moment, the only card on my field that exists on my field is the tin can.
Yeah.
That's it. I think he didn't have an out for the tin can or the destroyer. So he spent the last like 7 or 8 minutes left in the round. He spent like 7 minutes just playing his turn. Never once outed the tin can or the destroyer.
You should not be going that long.
I was telling him, I was like, dude, you've played this deck for I don't know how long, and you've outed more complicated boards that I put up. And it took you 7 minutes to play this turn to do. He literally did nothing during that. The board changed by maybe 1 monster, and I did pop a monster and removed it from the board. That was it, because I did have to summon the destroyer. But he never even killed the destroyer. So I drew all for turn, and it's like, I'm like, what do I have left? I have 22 seconds left. What am I going to do here? Nothing.
Unless you play super heavy samurai, you should not be playing more than 5 minutes for a turn. Like,
and the main problem was, is I had this, the Cosmos requires you to pay life points, and he knew I had already paid life points, and he didn't.
That's where he got
So the 7.5 minute play, I had like 30 seconds left to play, and I was like, I already lose. I have to summon this card, to special summon a card from the banish pile, and that also cost me life points.
And tell me it's not the
and I was upset, because I was like, this shouldn't even have happened. You had nothing. You played cards to play cards, which is understandable. But when you don't have anything, and you're also taking your sweet time to play cards, and you can't out a tin can or a destroyer. That's it. That's all I had.
Don't tell me y'all don't like it when they say, "Oh well, I guess we take the tie." Right?
Yeah,
you're just like,
yeah. Obviously, we're taking a tie.
Jeez.
But yeah, that was the slow play, and that's what I hate about time rules. But at the same time, you're gonna have this situation whether you're in times or in turns.
Because I don't think he ever played before time.
Yeah,
in a tournament.
Have you ever played when we would do turns?
No, I don't think I did.
So the thing about time is time dramatically reduced the time that we spent from round to round, because we used to do a regional, and a regional here would draw us until like 2:00 in the morning or something like that, and then that's when it would finally
It cut off about 3 hours from a rate, because we get out like a good tournament around 10. There would be times where we were leaving Heroes like 12.
That too at 12. Yeah, now we cut out about 10, but that's because playing time turns out, and you get 3 turns. The turn that you have currently, the next turn, and the turn after that, and then you're done.
So does that extra 5 minutes that we get now, does that affect the regionals as well?
Yes.
You know how it went from 40 to 45?
Yes, I do believe so. Yeah,
it does. Wow.
So it'll be an extra 5 minutes in regionals, but even with an extra 5 minutes in gameplay, It still doesn't really change the fact that you can end up in a scenario where you're slow playing anyway, because some games last forever, dude. Some game ones are taking for forever.
That's what it was. They said you get when they call it time, you get three turns, but you're starting on turn 0. So
the person that's playing, it's 0.
Then it's turn 1, 2, 3. But the thing was, like, those last 3 plays, like, we're just taking longer than the actual duel.
Because of technical thinking has to increase so that you can fucking win the game, because now you have a limited amount of turns to do something.
Sounds pretty exciting.
No, you wouldn't have enjoyed it at all.
No.
So do you consider slow playing cheating? Like legitimate slow playing, which is not really slow playing, it's they're doing something, but they're doing it very slowly.
I want to consider it cheating, but you can't, because it's a mechanic of the game.
It is now embedded in the game to play.
So you really can't. It's just something you have to deal with, because you have to be smart about.
When you were telling me about what happened to you at Shenanigans,
you were there. I already knew. We saw it more than you did.
I already knew, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was the same player or a different player, but I remember it was a branded player, and all they did was they went into battle phase, and they attacked me for like a few hundred. Then in the main phase, just comboed off, and I'm like...
And it's mostly because the time is posted up behind you.
That helps.
At Shenanigans and other places. Not like there's not going to be time there at a regional either. They're going to have a clock up. But if you have it posted there, if you're not utilizing the knowledge of the time to help your gameplay, then I don't see the reason why they should have a timer clock on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't believe there should be one posted even at a regional event, because it encourages this idea of cheating.
Of cheating, yeah, exactly.
And I don't think there should be a timer on your freaking Neurion thing.
Yeah, I'd rather get beat by you taking my life points away than saying time. All right, like,
because ultimately that's what they're doing. They're playing to that time clock. Especially if it's a one that's visible.
Yeah, it's kind of like basketball in the NBA when a lot of players use like flopping.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they're adding this. They're not playing the game, you know, like you're adding this whole thing that's not even in the game, you know, like instead of me figuring out how to combo and attack your life points, I'm going to try to burn you, or what's the best way to waste time? You know, yeah, and it does happen, you know.
We don't like players who do that. We don't. I don't at all. I mean, just beat me.
But yeah, it is something that you just have to deal with. I don't like dealing with it, but I also am never in a position where I have to like waste time. I think because I'm not managing a clock of my own, and I'm not managing the game clock that's on the floor. And at Heroes, there is no game clock on the floor. There's a timer that they set up at the front, and when it buzzes, that's when people like be like trying to like get into battle phase like hella quickly, you know. Or there are people that put the clock on their Neurion and they manage off of that.
I have to have a clock, because I'm the type of person that I get into the duel and I lose track of time. Like I lose focus, and then there's been duels where
I don't feel like that drives your gameplay.
But there's been duels where it's like, okay, time in the round. It's like, damn, was that 45 minutes?
Yeah,
you know, like. I would have played this, because there's some times where it's like, yeah, I'm at locals, but it's like I'm small talking with the guy, you know, and it's like, damn, like that, instead of like talking about what his effects does or something like that, I could have like been playing here, or if I was just a little faster at this area, you know, like I could have won, you know.
Yeah. So any other things that you find that are uphill battles for you at locals?
Not really. No, it's just the better players that you already know, that you're just like, oh man, if I'm up against him, I'm kind of like, I don't want to put myself down, but I'm like, all right, I'm probably gonna take this L, but I'm gonna fight to the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the best thing to do when you're playing against a really good competitive player, like a well-known competitive player. You have no other choice but to learn something from them every time you play them. You know, and if you're not learning anything from them, then you weren't there.
Yeah,
you know, because they can teach
this last tournament. Yeah, this last tournament, we were having that discussion.
Yeah,
like, hey, you just need to read the cards, and I messed up by not reading the cards.
It'd be more like understanding the mechanic of what a fusion summoned monster is and what a special summoned fusion monster is. There's two different things. So,
and also, I need to start calling out life points. Be like, hey, what are you at? What am I at? What have you activated to take your life points away? Like,
and we talked about this too, which is you're obligated to maintain the life point count yourself.
Yes.
So you can't, as much as it'd be easy to blame the calculator, the person calculating as why the tally's off, you're also supposed to be calculating on your own. And at a regional event, you're only allowed to use the Neurion. Calculator or pen and paper.
And before that, it was only pen and paper.
That's why I thought it was still pen and paper, but now you said they
added.
They added the Neurion because
it came out, but you weren't allowed to use it in the regional. And then I think this last year they're like, okay, you can use Neurion for translations and life points, and I think that's it. I don't know what else.
And I think also. I think that was it. That was the only two things. I know those two are the main things. Is you're allowed to use the calculator on the Neurion, and you're allowed to look up translations of cards.
Yeah.
And if your opponent didn't want you touching their cards, which is what we were talking about the other day, you're allowed to look up the card on your phone through the Neurion network to read the card yourself, because at that time it was a COVID thing, and he was having an issue with a player that didn't want him to touch his card.
Oh, wow.
So. And since they already had guidelines already set in place where you
this was
still
before
look
the
it up.
guidelines.
Oh yeah, was it before?
Yes, it was before.
Like this was way before COVID.
Yeah,
that's what he did. That way before COVID.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's crazy.
I thought that happened recently.
Nah, that was before.
Oh, it was a while ago.
Some guys are really touchy about their cards.
No, I mean, no, it's just like when you're salty in a game. From what I understand, was it because there was some So some
it was already
or heated game, you know.
Well, you know,
it devolved from a
personal experience.
Yeah,
me and this player, we really didn't see eye to eye for a while, and we bumped heads, and he just didn't want me to read his card, which, you know, it was just kind of, I don't know how to describe it, really. It was
it's kind of bullshit that ridiculous. You get your hand slapped when you try to read a card, but yeah, the Neurion thing, you want to use that for that moment, but yeah, you shouldn't have had to get your hand slapped over that.
We ain't dropping names, but we all know we all had problems with a certain person.
We have problems with several people.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
And then
sometimes I'm the problem.
the last thing too I wanted to say about that was the if and when. Like, people still need to comprehend if and when misses timing and if doesn't miss.
Or it's placed, it's prioritized in the chain link. When will automatically be the chain link 1. If you're able to set up a chain link off the card, if nothing was missed.
That's what I was saying. Hardly cards miss timing nowadays.
Yeah,
you know, that's how it made up. That's it's usually like an old school like thing for cards to miss.
But you do still see a lot of win effects, especially when an old card comes into the format. Like during the milling for Telements, that card, when it gets milled out, it says win, so it's auto 1.
Reiko Mary,
the
cat.
Yeah, the cat. When it gets milled out, it says win because it's an old text, but it's still worded as win. So it automatically is chain link 1, and then it gets blocked by everything else after it. If it resolves without being missed timing or whatever.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah, so those things like that. So we are going to go to a tournament today, and we're going to do an after tournament conversation.
I'm ready for that.
Make sure y'all remember what y'all play against, and any main details. Some uphill stuff like that or whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting interactions.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you make a mistake, try and remember that mistake too, but don't let it affect your gameplay, and we'll come back and we'll get into that. Hey everybody, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Hope y'all like, share, and subscribe, and click the notification bell for when new videos are uploaded. Got it this time. So this is like my 15th take. And I'll be posting the post-tournament video shortly after this one, so keep an eye out for that as well. Catch you later.